Hey everybody, Chomsky here. Just wanted to say, congratulations. You pulled Aratheia Corpseflower. Especially, it's very timely because, Valentine's Day, yada yada yada, and here's the stretch. Uh, Corpseflower, flowers for Valentine's Day. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, congratulations. You got Aratheia. Um, she's new for me, and it was kind of fun to build her out just a little bit. Let's go through her kit first, and then we could go through it, right? I Because we have champ training, I did bring her up to 60, and I ascended her. I don't have any blessings for her, so this is going to be pretty much it. Uh, on her A1, she's attacking one enemy, fills this champion's turn meter by 10%, fills this champion's turn meter by an additional 10% if the enemy is under hex. Will counterattack using the skill when hit by enemies under a hex debuff. So kind of like with Mithrala, whenever she gets hit when there's a hex out there that like they turn into stone skin. Rather than that, she's filling up her turn meter by 20%. Cool. That's not bad. A2 attacks all enemies twice. Damage increases for each enemy under a hex debuff. Will ignore shield and strengthen buffs. Will also ignore block damage on enemies under a hex. Fills this champion's turn meter by 30%. Fills this champion's turn meter by an additional 20% for each enemy killed by this skill. That is a boatload, right? When we talk about turn meter fill, this is huge. That she's doing it by 30% off the bat, getting an additional 20% for each enemy killed by this skill. That is a lot. So yeah, like instantly in my head, I'm just thinking about the meme of the burr, of just she's going to be going nuts with that potentially. Ignoring strengthen and shield, that's fine. Like typically, like I'm not too concerned about it. Like really, for me, I'm worried about stone skin. I'm worried about mercury. That type of stuff is what I'm mainly concerned about. We'll ignore black damage. And you know, I think that's rad. Like there's a few things to go around that, and to have this just present is a nice little touch. Here we're increasing our accuracy by by 50% for 2 turns. Has a 100% chance of placing a death brand on an enemy target for 2 turns. Also has a 75% chance to place hex will be 100%. Then fills this champion's turn meter by 50%. Fills this champion's turn meter by an additional 10 for each debuff placed by the skill. Also places a block damage on this champion for 1 turn. Holy moly. There is a potential of basically getting to go again. Like, that's okay, you're going up by half. And then if there's 4 dudes out there, you're putting out there a hex as well as potentially a death brand. That's that's basically it. You get to go again. So this being a 3-turn cooldown, like 4, 3, uh, you potentially have an A3 that goes to 2-turn, like effectively a 2-turn cooldown, because your turn meter is going to be increased by so much. That, like, I don't know the multipliers. I don't know much, but all I know is that for you to get to go again, that's awesome. Like, she could hit like a wet noodle, but you could be hitting like a wet noodle twice. And that's pretty badass. So she's placing this, she's not doing any damage whatsoever, so okay. And again, it's placing, so it's going to be 100%. Goes into this, she's increasing her damage for each enemy under a hex, and then she's also increasing her turn meter, potentially some more if she kills any enemy. And then the passive, if this champion kills one or more enemies in a battle, we'll ignore 10% of the target's defense. All right, cool. Additional ignore defense, I'm for it. Like, yay. If this champion kills 2 or more, this champion receives a shield up to 40% of their max HP. If If she kills 3 or more, each attack will decrease a target's turn meter by 10%. This effect cannot be resisted. So, okay, like in PvP area, like that's gonna be so hard. Like we basically need to have her be a total nuke because dudes are gonna have a lot of HP and a lot of defense. In PvE, this could be really good. Um, PvP, it's just gonna be difficult to basically have her set up that final blow. So I'm not leaning too much into this. If anything, I'll be leaning into the ignore 10% of a target's defense. Getting a shield, cool, yay. So I have her in Feral. Again, just thinking about the Hex and Death Brand. I have her at moderately decent speed at 278. Her attack is kind of low, and this is what I was trying to get at here, was to have her be a nuker. And if that's the case, she needs to have like 8,000 attack. I do have her almost crit capped. 293% defense is fine. And then 465 accuracy, which with that increased accuracy, that's going to be an additional 230. So we're looking at like 695, give or take. So almost 700 accuracy. I'm feeling really good about that. The areas where I don't feel good is her HP. Basically, she's going to be stupid. She's going to be stupid um, to survive. Like it's going to be very, very limited. So that's going to be difficult. Along with that HP is that defense. The attack, I would love to get up to 7,000 with her. But getting the crit rate, crit damage, speed, and accuracy, she's just going to be very stat heavy. I have Gore Crescent with her just to get more attack and more crit damage. Cat's Gaze would also make sense. If you don't have that, Malefic Talon, if you're going to go through that killing aspect, uh, you could have her just as like a support attack. I'm leaning into the attack support area. So here I have that she's going to ignore 3% of the target's defense, just in case if slash when other people go ahead of her. The turn meter effects are going to be 10% less effective. And then just in case, I want that accuracy, like that circle gemstone, just this way she can maybe get a little bit more accuracy to place that death brand and hex. So that's kind of like how I have it right there. I do want to take her into dungeon into spider team here and just mess around. Um, See how she is. She should be cutting in front of my newts. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, okay, before my Marius. So I want to put out there the hex. Okay, and she should go again. Okay, 43,050. Then that was only 10,000 right there. Not a lot. But mainly she's gonna get a lot of damage because of the hex, and I think that'll be it because my second newt's gonna go. I could kind of elongate this. I can't. Okay. So let's do this again. Well, I'm not gonna waste that. Um, so when we think about uses, anywhere that's going to be a lot of enemies, right? So like right there, we saw Corpseflower toss in Hex and basically get another turn. So that's awesome. I imagine in Hydra she would also be useful. Because I have her in Feral, I that's only going to increase the damage that other people do. I don't know how useful Death Brand's going to be. Uh, yeah, I really don't. Because I know that's useful in Iron Twins. I think she's the only one that could actually do Iron Brand as a legendary. Uh, so I think that's rad. That's petrification. Let's see here. It increases damage dealt by the machine skill. Okay. Mm. So that does nothing. uh, but it will increase the damage dealt by the Iron Twins Doomsday Machine skill. Oh, okay. Damage from this skill is increased according to the duration of any Iron Brand debuffs currently active on the champion. The higher the duration of an enemy debuff or Iron Brand debuff, the greater the damage the Doomsday Machine will do. Iron Brand cannot be resisted or removed, but it can be resisted. Cool. So we just have this blanket debuff that I don't know how that works. Awesome. Either way, it's another debuff out there. I'll go back to the laboratory and figure it out. Basically, go to hellhades.com and check that out, or a Yumi Love, and read up on it. But this is how I have Corpseflower. I'm definitely going to go through the support tree. I want to extend those hexes. Um, I guess Deathbrand as well, maybe, since it's not targeted in here. And then I'm going to go down the attack tree. I think moving forward in version 2 of this, I think maybe just straight up bringing in like my Nace, my um, some of my more like Empress, tossing some of those gears onto her and really see how much she can do. I think she's relatively weak. Uh, she's very dependent on putting that Death Brand, that Hex out there. So seemingly, it would be pretty bad to get in a long term match with her. She doesn't. I mean, if there was a leech involved too, just for sustainability, I think that'd be rad. But not the case. Uh, Definitely not going up against Stone Skin, and that was poor. Um, you know, her going up against anybody in Stone Skin is going to really wallop her because you have a 50% chance against Stone Skin of putting any debuffs out there. So she gets a counterattack here. 10,000 attack. 13. Okay. Like, that's not really a lot when an A1 from Marius does a boatload more, but she's getting a lot of counterattack. Just Glass Cannon. She only has like 40,000 HP. Yikes. So, really quick, I'm glad I got her. I don't know where I'm really going to be using her too often. I I think she's going to be a fun champ just to mess around with like waves. Uh, Disappointing is a Void legendary. Uh, at this moment, uh, this kind of feels like that Dark Elf one, Marinix, where the kits sound good, but in practice the multipliers are so low that I think she's going to get lumped in with her. Um, I would hope that there's some element of Hex, maybe changing a multiplier or two that makes these champs a little bit better. Uh, Selfishly, I have a 6-star Marinix that I would love to bust out. But again, just like with Corpseflower, just really, really weak. So I, I, I don't know. I think that they're just going to collect some dust for time being. And like, we're going to have to get used to it. So like, I don't want to lump her in as a Vault Guardian just yet. But she could definitely have a lot of fun. You just need to have a good team ahead of her. So I think maybe a Crixia just to lock people out, um, wipe off that Stone Skin ahead of her would be awesome. Maybe getting our bias in there, and like let's see if we could bring her into arena and see what we can muster up here. This one may not be the greatest because of what's his face there, um, with the poison. So I don't know if I'm gonna live long enough. But this is kind of like what I was talking about, where we have our bias leading the charge here. Oh, Feral kicks in there, so that's good. Let's just try to elongate this a little bit. And then Hex. We got block damage out here. So 20,000 as an attack is really, really low. Um, Yikes. uh, let's try this one. And really it's just to take away Nace here. I wasn't paying attention. That's lovely. So right now we're going to be kind of stuck. So there's no hex, no nothing. Doing that again. Would have been really cool if Plarium had told us what Deathbrand does that's not Iron Twin dependent. Like 20,000 against no. That's not enough, man. Uh Not enough. And again, I know he's gonna have a lot of HP, perhaps a lot of defense, but as an HP dude, like just to put out 20,000 out there is not good. And let's just get out of this because you're gonna die. Yeah. So really quick, yeah, that's my Corpseflower build. I'll mess around with it. I did really quickly do my Gharol, and then I was gonna mess around with my Nace. And Gharol, I was thinking about a 9-piece Mercury, just to really mess around with it. I think it's in global. No, I have it in my Predator. That's right. So I do have a 9-piece Mercury with my Predator. It's just not good. Like we have not, he's not at crit rate, and he only has 70,000 HP. That's not good. So back to the drawing board. I'm looking for 100 crit cap and then a boatload more crit damage. But we'll get there when I get a lot more Mercury stuff. But anyways, typical raid ADHD. Thanks for taking this journey with me. Um, yeah, that's Corpseflower. Not a Vault Guardian, but definitely tossed into the roster just as a whatever. Let's have some fun. I would give her a rating of like maybe a B to maybe B plus, depending on team composition. Solo, I would give her a B minus. And I know how much you all love those ratings, so there you go. All right, until the next video, uh, take care.